Good to go. We've got Mike. Mic check, 1, 2. Hello YouTube, and welcome to another video, or episode I should say, of Mechanical Warriors. We've got actually a special series coming up for you guys where we're going to be comparing two iconic engines, the Mazda REW 13B Rotary engine and also the legendary 2JZ Toyota 6-cylinder beast. These things put out stupid power. Both engines are unique in their own special ways, and we are going to explore exactly what makes each engine special. And during this series, we're going to do a lot of different videos comparing both of these engines in their respective cars. So the 2JZ is obviously going into the Mark IV Supra, which is our giveaway car. And the 13B is going into an RX-8, which I have heavily modified. We'll be putting a new turbo system on this, as well as a NOS kit and a few other extra goodies that we're going to be doing. So stay tuned for that. There's also a review of the Uni clutch, which has been highly requested. That video will be next before we put this engine in the car. We'll be showing obviously how the clutch looks and our thoughts and opinions on the clutch before it's on the engine, as well as a drive and how it engages and how much horsepower it holds, because that's really the key thing here. So let's get stuck into the series and start comparing these two motors. All right, first off, let's start with this Uni clutch. I've never purchased one of these before. First Uni clutch I've ever used. I've got a fan going in the background too there because it's so hot here, so hopefully that noise isn't coming through the microphone so bad. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's open this Uni clutch and check it out, because I haven't actually had it out of the box yet. Apart from a little inspection of it, but so far it looks very, very well packed. Now the beauty about these clutches is they actually are a flywheel and a clutch in the same package. Well, not so much a flywheel, but the pressure, the clutch plate, traditionally a clutch would sit against your flywheel, and the clutch plates and the pressure plate would press into the flywheel. Whereas this, you don't need to do that with the Uni clutch, because the back part here is actually where the clutch presses against. So if you are changing a Uni clutch to a Uni clutch, you don't have to have your flywheel machined back to flat again, which is pretty cool. So looks like that's it for the main box. Let's have a look at this. What is this? Looks like some do's and don'ts, some simple instructions. Okay, maybe some more instructions in there. Some sort of an adapter plate, I would say, to attach to any particular type of flywheel. Another one of the awesome things about these clutches. I don't know too much about this company, but from what I do know, the technology that they're using to create these clutches is the same sort of technology that they're using when they create Formula One clutches and stuff like that. And the reason why they can get them so cheap is because they're mass producing these units with the ability for them to attach to any gearbox. So that's sort of their secret as to why they can create such a high quality clutch for the price that they are. Because the price, I mean, they're not cheap, but they're definitely not the most expensive clutch out there. And we've got obviously some adapting pieces. So the next step before I attach my gearbox, which I just spent yesterday pulling the entire thing apart and redoing all the seals, because unfortunately the same sealant on the engine I used there as well. So I had to pull the entire box apart, which is not as easy as you might think. Anyway, the next step is figuring out how this clutch goes onto the flywheel so that we can attach the engine and gearbox together and put this engine back into the RX-8 and take the next step. We still have to fit a new turbo to the RX-8, which we'll get into probably in a later video. But for this video, I think we'll definitely get this engine in, and I'm not sure if we'll get the 2JZ in, but I want to do just a little bit more, cover a few more specs, how long it is, just simple sort of stuff like that, the weight of it, and things like that. But before I do, I want to attach this to the motor and have it ready so that I can combine these two together before the end of this video. So let's go.
Before moving forward with the uni clutch install, it's worth taking a moment to compare the 2JZ and 13B side by side. The 2JZ is a big inline-six engine, while the 13B is much smaller in every way. Even without the turbo bolted on, the difference in size is obvious. The weight gap is just as extreme. The 2JZ comes in around 250 to 270 kilograms, while the 13B is nearly half that at 130 kilograms. The extra weight of the 2JZ gives it the durability to handle big boost, while the 13B keeps things light, making it ideal for a balanced, high revving setup. Totally stock, the 2JZ makes about 280 horsepower, but this one has been built for over 1,000 horsepower at the wheels, while the 13B, originally making 255 horsepower, has been studded for extra strength and features a large bridge port for extra airflow. With a dual ball bearing 62mm turbo, it's aiming for closer to 700 horsepower at the wheels. That kind of power is going to put the uni clutch and straight cut gear set to the test. Will they hold up? We'll find out soon enough. Alright Josh, tell us more about this uni clutch and how it's coming together.
Okay guys, so these clutches are actually really easy to assemble. Basically, all you got to do is find the spline, your correct spline, out of the options that they give you. This slots in here, and then there's a circlip that pops in over the top to hold it in there. And then obviously your adaptation plate bolts on underneath here. So you've got your two screws, and then you have some spacers. Oh, sorry, let me get that right. Got some spacers here. Now you do have to check some specifications to see what type of spacing you need for your vehicle. And for me it was 18 mil. So we basically just have to make up 18 mil with the spacers supplied. Whoop, down there. And that's pretty much good to bolt onto the flywheel of the engine. So I'm going to go grab the 13B. Let me just turn this camera around. I'm going to go grab the 13B and put it on the bench here, and we're going to attach the gearbox to the 13B and whack it in the car. Let's do it.
With the flywheel already in place, Josh is installing the uni clutch. Just 6 bolts and it's on. No alignment tools, no messing around. This is a one-piece unit designed for quick installation and maximum performance. But the big question is, will it hold up? This 13B isn't just any Rotary, it's built for serious power, pushing well beyond factory limits. The uni clutch is designed to handle high horsepower and aggressive driving, but only time will tell if it can take the punishment this engine will dish out. For now, everything is torqued to spec, double-checked, and ready to go. Another step complete, and the 13B is inching closer to its first fire-up. With the uni clutch installed, Josh moves on to the next step, getting the 13B onto the bench and ready to align with the gearbox. This part is all about precision. The engine needs to be positioned just right to make the bolting process as smooth as possible. Before anything gets tightened down, it's crucial to check the alignment between the engine and gearbox. A proper fit here means no issues later when the power starts flowing. Everything is prepped, and the next step is locking them together.
Okay guys, so we are pretty much ready to bolt these two pieces together. Let me just flip this camera around. So as you can see, got the uni clutch in there, and I'm going to bolt these two together and put the whole lot in as one piece. So let's continue with this process and get it in and get it in the car. Let's go.
All right, time to slide this gearbox onto the 13B. The trick? Get the shaft lined up just right and gently ease it in. No forcing it, just a smooth, satisfying connection. With the input shaft fully seated, Josh locks it down with bolts, making sure everything stays nice and tight, because nobody likes a loose gearbox. Final torque check, and that's it. The engine and gearbox are officially one. Another step done, and this rotary beast is coming together fast. Stay tuned, things are only getting wilder from here.
Okay, and we're done. Check it. The engine and gearbox are now together. Now, one thing I will say is, if you've ever got an engine on the bench like this and you want to check things, now's the time to do it. Because once it's in the car, it's a lot harder to go over and inspect everything. So before this goes on the crane and makes its way over to the car, I'm going to go over a full inspection over the entire engine, make sure everything's honky-dory, and then we'll put it on the crane and put it in the car. Let's go.
With the final inspection of the engine complete, it's time for the big moment. Josh brings in the crane, carefully lifting the 13B off the bench and making his way over to the car. This is where things get real. Every movement needs to be smooth, no sudden swings, no scratches. The engine bay is waiting, and in just a few moments, this rotary beast is going in. With the 13B in the air, Josh carefully lowers it into the engine bay. This is where precision matters, tilting, adjusting, making sure everything lines up just right. A few small tweaks, a little persuasion, and there it is, sitting perfectly in place. The rotary has officially found its home. With the engine in place, Josh moves underneath the car to bolt up the drive shaft. This is what connects the gearbox to the differential, transferring all that rotary power to the rear wheels. A few bolts go in, torqued down to spec, making sure there's no unwanted play. This connection is critical, because without it, all that horsepower goes nowhere. Another step done. This build is coming together fast.
Okay guys, I am finished putting the RX-8 engine back into the RX-8. What a mission that was. Doing it all by myself. Yeah, it's not easy. I'm exhausted. It's like 10:30 or something at night, and yeah, that was hard yakka. Anyway, I've basically got everything underneath hooked up. You can see there, it's all basically hooked up. The next job that I need to do on this car is basically we're going to be redoing the entire exhaust system. So the turbo manifold all the way back through to the back exhaust. So we're going to see, I've also got the uni clutch in there, as we saw that we installed earlier on. So we're going to see how that goes once we get the car up and running. I'm also going to be designing this exhaust a little bit differently. So before I had a dump here where I could partially dump it or fully dump it. I'm not going to do that on this design because one of the biggest problems was the valve just would ever so slightly leak even when it's closed. When you run an E85, the whole cabin would just fill up with E85 and your eyes would be watering, and it wasn't pleasant to drive with the AC running or anything like that. So I'm going to run the exhaust all the way back through, and we're going to have two tips come out, one on either side here, and one of them will run straight through here and then have a valve to go straight out, so there'll be no muffler whatsoever. And then the other one will divert through a muffler and then 90 back out the back here, so I can silence the car if I want to. So I think that's going to be me for today. We're going to get back in here tomorrow and continue work on the 2JZ and get this gearbox assembled onto the back of the motor, and get this thing ready to go into the car. Not sure if we'll put the engine of this into the car in this episode. We'll see how we go. I kind of want to get the exhaust done on the RX-8 just so I can get this operational and moving. Then we've got the lift free for the Supra. So I think that'll be my plan moving forward. So we'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, it's now Friday and I just want to wrap this video up because I got to get it out. But I just want to show you what I'm working on the bench here. Let me just turn this camera around. So I've got some mandrel bends and a bit of pipe. The flange for my turbo manifold that I wanted to construct over the weekend, the guys basically shut. They shut at 2:30 today. So I missed picking it up, but I had everything basically cut out of stainless steel, marine grade stainless steel, because the last manifold actually rusted on the inside and a bit of rust come through the turbine wheel and just damaged one of the turbine blades, only ever so slightly, but yeah, I just don't want to have that issue again. So stainless steel will sort that, but we've got to obviously rebuild that from scratch. So that'll be a job for Monday when they reopen and I can pick up that flange. I've done a few other things as well while I've got the car up here. Put some new thermo fans in for the radiator, and we're also going to make some ducting so that the top mount and the radiator is always pulling in new air from the front of the car rather than pulling air from up in here, which I think what's happening because when I do formal drop-offs, sometimes when you're sitting in the line, you can be sitting in the lines for hours, the engine does start heating up. And I think what's happening is the heat sink from the engine's heating up all the ambient air around it, and then the radiator is pulling that hot air through, and obviously it's losing its cooling effect to the engine. But normally when the car's even moving slightly forward, this V-mount setup really keeps the 13B cool. Actually, when I was doing the map, I was having a problem with it being slightly too cool. So I ended up solving that issue. The next job is fitting this turbo and then put all the oil in, and we will retune this beast and get moving on with the exhaust and the exhaust valve. So I'm gonna wrap up this video here. Thanks everybody for watching, and if you've learned anything from watching the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. That stuff really helps out. If you are interested in the Supra that we're putting together now, you can go to our website www.mechanicalwarriors.com.au and find out more information about our giveaways and other stuff that we got going on. So thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate the support, and we will see you for the next one. Cheers, guys.
Artlist.io